Hey, Calm One, Dr. Timothy Elizondo here. Beginning of week number 4. We're about 20% through this entire course. I think that's pretty exciting. And I wanted to send out this particular video as we begin this week in order to kind of help maybe reorient you in regards to where we're going as we move forward. Keep in mind that really, from my perspective, I think this entire course really revolves around, of course, the idea of public speaking, but ultimately, the 3 big assignments in this course are going to be a demonstration speech that's due week 8, right? So it's 4 weeks away. We have an informative speech that's going to be due week 11, that's going to be submitted on Zoom, which is 7 weeks away. And then we also have a persuasive speech that I believe looks as if it's going to be starting about week 15, week 16. So that's about 11 weeks away. And you might be thinking to yourself, Tim, why are you talking about this? Because this is so many kind of moons ahead, so to speak. And I would say, well, actually, I would say that time is potentially an illusion. It's going to come up much, much faster than some of us anticipate. And it seems to me from watching kind of your videos from the group assignments and kind of interacting with students is there are different kinds of students. Some students approach online classes like they would approach an American Ninja Warrior course, where you just kind of worry about the element in front of you, whether you got to, swing across something, or climb the top of the curved ramp. And you just kind of worry about what's ahead of you and deal with what's next down the road. I would suggest, however, there's a second population of students that I think is probably more set up for success, where they are thinking about the entire course. And they're already starting to think about the ideas that they would bring to their potential persuasive speech or their informative speech, even though they are down the road, so to speak. And so my intention of this particular week is to look at your topic brainstorms that you've submitted, and to also look at those student introduction Flipgrid videos. And I'm going to put those together, and I want to offer you feedback in order to help you identify potential topics and or specific purposes you'll be using as you construct your speeches. So I would assert that I think perhaps one of the goals by the end of this week, if I was a student, would be to have a clear understanding of what I at least think my demonstration speech is going to be about and what my informative speech is going to be about, or at least what the specific purposes are going to be. So that way I can use the rest of the time to start constructing the speeches and also turning my attention towards issues such as evidence and or delivery. Okay? So that's what I'm doing this particular week. My job is to look at your work and provide you feedback of what I think would be potential sound specific purpose ideas. And I guess I should also make a note that from watching your different videos, I've seen students kind of report that they're having difficulty finding a topic because they're unfamiliar with who their audience is. The textbook is going to talk about this idea of audience analysis, and I would suggest that from watching the videos of different students, that I do think we can make certain assumptions about who our audience is. Our audience is really kind of telling us through their videos the age range that they fall into, whether that be like the median or, from this young age to this old age, or maybe even an average, or what the most of the students fall into. They're telling us where they live in the region. They're telling us what their majors are. They're telling us potentially if they have what their marital status is, or if they have children. If they own animals. From their videos, we can also see perhaps how they live, or what's in their particular environment that might give indicators in regards to hobbies or interests, or certain ways that they live their life. Yeah, so I think that I would be thinking about then, okay, I do have certain kinds of information. For example, all of your classmates are students. And as a result, just being students somehow ties them all together as it relates to particular needs, interests, or wants that they may have. Okay. So I think kind of the big idea is, what can you see right? And what kinds of assumptions can you make from this giant population? And then I would be thinking of specific purposes that have a direct relationship to my read of the audience and also potential ideas that I'm bringing forth. Okay? All right, so that's what I'm working on this particular week, is to provide you feedback. And ultimately, the reason I'm trying to provide you feedback is so that you can have a specific purpose that you can then bring to the construction of a speech, right? And keep it in mind that in this particular class, a speech is a really specific piece of composition that is very similar to an essay, say in a Rick Rivera class, although there are modifications. Right? So ultimately, a speech is an oral thing that revolves around the presence of a thesis statement. Right? And so the speaker goes up, says, hey, audience, here's the particular thesis. And in order to understand this thesis today, my body of my speech is going to be broken into these particular segments, known in the speech world or in the textbook as points. First point, my second point, and my third point. And then after that, they have a conclusion. So we're going to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. The introduction is going to have different parts to it. The body is going to have 3 points inside of it, and then we're going to have a conclusion on the bottom. Okay, so there's going to be a really specific structure to it, and the first step of beginning approaching that particular structure is finding a specific purpose. A specific purpose is a really specific idea found within this particular textbook. What page are we going to? And yeah. And that's really the first step of this particular methodology that we're going to be using in this particular class. So with that in mind, because we have this really specific structure that is a speech, the next kind of question people might have is, well, Tim, like, how do you understand this structure? How do you understand the way that evidence is used? How do you understand the way that, delivery is performed? And my answer to that is, well, from the world of competitive forensics, intercollegiate speech and debate, something that's occurring this very weekend in an online forum. But before all these different cultural changes occurred throughout the United States on a regular basis, where college students, ranging from novice speakers to elite level performers, would go somewhere and give speeches to each other. One assignment within this particular week's module is introducing a forensic speaker to you and asking you to contrast that particular style of speaking with those found in the realm of TED Talks. My approach is that TED Talks are, they're speeches, but they're not necessarily the model that a student would want to use in a class such as this, from a structural perspective and oftentimes from a content perspective, and arguably also from a delivery perspective as well. So I would be looking at that particular forensics video, and I'll also be showing other forensics videos as this course progresses so that you have an understanding of just how I'm influenced. And I don't want to point a particular speech out and say, this is an A speech, because to be honest, what you find to be effective from a delivery perspective might be a little bit different than what I find to be effective from a delivery perspective. But what I can show you is I can show you a range of speeches that have been awarded kind of degrees of excellence or have been highly praised, and so that you can see similarities as it relates to structure, composition, and or delivery. So with that in mind, I think there are going to be some challenges ahead. I think one of the more difficult challenges is for students to narrow down their topic to a specific purpose. Okay, keep in mind that a topic is like this, it's usually like 1 word or 2 words. It's a section of a bookstore, right? For example, I don't know, mixed martial arts, that's a topic. Dungeons and Dragons, that's a topic. But I can't give a speech about mixed martial arts because it's too broad, right? And then somebody might go, okay, all right, not mixed martial arts, how about just the UFC? right? That's still really broad, right? I mean, there's tons of books on the UFC. So instead, a specific purpose is a single infinitive phrase that expresses precisely what your speech is about. And so my speech can't be about the UFC, but instead of thinking of it at a bookstore, think of your specific purpose as a chapter within a book that's on a shelf in a row about the UFC. Or potentially even more specific. I'm actually, no, it's actually just a page in a book, on a shelf, in a row, in a bigger row, in a store of books. So as speakers, oftentimes we start with the topic. It might be UFC, but I start whittling it down because a speech about, say, to inform my audience about the influence that Royce Gracie played in the evolution of kind of hybrid fighting within the UFC is a very different speech than to inform my audience about the importance Ronda Rousey played in the popularity of female fighting within the UFC. See how those are two different speeches? I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. But to inform a speech about to inform my audience about the role that Hulk Hogan played in the rise of the WWE in the 1980s is a very different speech than to inform my audience about the three most infamous opponents The Rock has had in the last 15 WrestleManias. And again, your speech is only about one idea, and that's going to be in the thesis. So our process now is going to be, all right, we got to go from a topic, we got to whittle that down, find our specific purpose. All right, and once we find our specific purpose, then we're going to start constructing this thing that has these different parts to it: an introduction, a body with 3 points, and a conclusion. Anything else that I want to cover? I don't think so. I think that's about it. But hey, if you are out there and you are still listening, how about, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of like an existential crisis. I'm not really sure kind of who's out there is listening and who isn't. So tell you what, if you send me an email, just letting me know, and how about just one sentence that just says, Tim, I confirm your existence, I will give you 5 extra credit points. But you have to send me an email by, how about Tuesday night at midnight? Yeah, just so I can kind of start to know and get an idea of who's watching these videos and when they're watching them. Because it's just really helpful for me for data collection. How's that sound? All right. Well, I hope all is well. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I look forward to hearing from you as the course progresses, and keep an ear out for my feedback because there'll be an audio file coming at you this week unless my power goes out or I catch on fire or I'm killed by a murder hornet. Okay? Bye, everybody.